Fulham 1, Chelsea 2. After a stale result against Brentford, an embarrassing display against Ipswich, and a very timid performance against Legia Warsaw at home, we needed to bounce back with a result. The lineup today, I didn't have any complaints, honestly. This was probably the strongest team we could have put out, and, we got the job done. Hats off to the manager, hats off to the players. The first half, the first 10 or 14 minutes, let's say, we played with a bit more urgency than we normally would, because a lot of the time we would just recycle the ball around and be a bit more patient, but we were looking to get the ball forward a lot quicker than we usually would. We did concede a goal very early on. It was disallowed, and I'll be honest, we're not alert. Defensively, we're not very aware. It's not disciplined. Like, these guys don't want to defend, and they just can't defend. And like I said, throughout the season, we just have to outscore teams. And this is why. The predicament we've been in for the last 4 months is just evident that we have to score more, really. And that's just that, And individuals just let us down today. Like, our best players didn't turn up. Jackson, not good enough today. Palmer, just in his own world. Reese, awful. Gave away the first goal as well. Like, it's just not like him. He mentally was just checked out. And going forward, really, Madueke was probably the only one that gave me a bit of confidence. The only one. That's why in the second half it bothered me that the manager took him off, because I thought, maybe he could have done more, given us a bit more. I just felt, okay, he was just doing that to accommodate Neto. And I was happy Sancho came on, because I thought, what, maybe Sancho could, help, maybe create. But again, Sancho's a give-and-go player, so he also needs support. He's not really that type of person who's just going to, he can take on players, but I've seen him take on players. He does do that, but he's not really going to, I think with Madueke is that when he gets the ball, every time he will be direct and he'll go and take the player on. And if he's successful, he won't really think, oh, do I have support? He'll just go down the edge of the box and then pass it into the box, whether someone's there or not. And at times that can be very frustrating, because it's like, well, you're just giving the ball away. This time it was a bit more. It was good that he was doing it today, because again there was Jackson in the box, but he wasn't getting on the end of it. And Sancho, he's someone that he wants to make sure to make the right decision every single time, and it's just him playing safe, but at the same time he doesn't really impose himself. So when he should shoot, he won't do that. He wants to provide for everybody else, but if everybody else isn't doing anything, then you are automatically surplus to requirement, because you're not imposing yourself, which is what I think why a lot of people are very frustrated with Sanch. But today he was decent. But yeah, the other players, Palmer, Jackson, even in the second half, more of the same. Fair play to the manager for making subs early. He took off Reese, brought on Gusto, who's now gone off injured. I don't blame the manager for that, by the way, but it's just unfortunate. And yeah, I said he brought on Sancho already. I'm not sure if he made another change. Later on, actually, he made a change. He took off Jackson for TYRIQUE George, which, I'll be honest, baffled me. Even though the second half, nothing really changed. Nothing much changed, really. But you can tell Fulham wanted the second goal, but at the same time, they weren't, desperate for it. They could just see out the result as it was. We didn't look like we were scoring, so I don't blame them for not being as urgent as they were. All you need is one goal against Chelsea. The second one just confirms it. But Fulham didn't really play with the urgency like they needed a second goal, and I don't blame them, to be honest. Again, we did not look like we were going to score. But back to the manager and the subs. Yeah, he got it right today with the subs. Absolutely spot on. Bringing on TYRIQUE George, I'll be honest, it baffled me, because I thought, the only person we could bring on is TYRIQUE George, for attacking options. And I didn't think he would bring him on, actually. I didn't think TYRIQUE George would actually do anything. I don't think he's a bad player. I just didn't think that he would have been a desired impact on this game. But no, from the second he came on, I think the first touch he made, he got the goal. Very good goal. And then I think 10 minutes later, in added time, I can't remember who got the ball to Pedro now. I think it was Enzo. Enzo and Caicedo were brilliant today. Again, they've been brilliant for the longest time. I really feel bad for them, because I don't feel like they don't have enough cover. And I sympathize with them, but they've been pretty much putting in a shift for the longest time. Credit to those two. Enzo, again, great performance. Gets the ball to Neto, and Neto, I think it was Enzo who got it to him, and Neto, just with a striker's instinct, first time hits it well, takes a touch first and then turns around, hits it, and hits the roof of the net, and the crowd just goes mad at that point. That was Drogba-esque. That is not the type of, that's not a finish that you normally see in the Premier League or just in general. Like nowadays, you don't really see, strikers. Well, he's not a striker, but you don't see players score goals like that a lot. It's very rare, especially at Chelsea with the attacking issues we have. But you know what? Neto made up for his performance with that goal, and it got us. We're now 5th, but I'll be honest. Although I'm happy we got the result, I'm not very convinced that we'll qualify for the Champions League because of the fixtures we have in May. And if we beat Ipswich and Brentford, we sit in 3rd. And I'd be in it. And especially if we beat Everton, if we won every single game in April, we'd have a cushion. But now we don't. And if Tottenham lose tomorrow, we'll just go back to 6th. So this result is good, but it didn't change much. I just don't know where we'll get a win from in May. That's what concerns me.